Hi, it's Rupert Hine here from Action Coach near Kinross, and I'm joined today by John Cox of Cox& Co. Welcome, John.
Hi, Rupert. Thanks very much for having me.
John, I really appreciate you joining me. So you've been running Cox& Co for what, 16 and three-quarter years or something along those lines?
Oh, yeah. It doesn't feel as long as that, but when you put it that way, Robert, yes. We are just shy of 17 years. I've been doing what I do. Cox and Co hasn't been around for that length of time, but I've been doing what I do for just shy of 17 years. That's correct.
So so Cox& Co is more than just an estate and letting agency.
Very much so. Very much so.
So how do you describe what you do?
Look, we Cox and Co is a property investment house in a lot of ways. We are letting agents, estate agents, mortgage brokers, and property investment specialists all under the one roof. A true turnkey service for property investors, landlords, anybody who essentially wants to buy, sell, rent, or invest in property, and we can assist them under the one roof.
So fantastic idea. I mean, I'm always talking to people about helping them to get to that point in their business journey where they can build
Sure.
up that property portfolio and have that recurring income. What got you into it in the first place?
Sure. So I'm a mortgage broker to trade. So that's where I started 17 years ago. My background before that was professional rugby. I was a rugby player all my days, only retiring 4 years ago. I went professional at 18 and had a few years of dipping my toe into the professional game, early 2000s. But I realized very, very early that I was never going to become a BBC pundit for the rest of my days. So I decided, well, let's go build a business at the same time in the hope that I can still play the business for myself and for my own future. Um, I decided to move into mortgage brokering at 23 years old. My father was a mortgage broker up in Aberdeen, and I basically wanted to do what he does. I just didn't want to work for him, which is again a brave idea at that point. I basically could see there was opportunity in working in mortgages, so I set up my shop in Edinburgh, and he had his business up in Aberdeen. The best way to put it, Rupert, was I see a few different opportunities to get into property management and lettings after a few years of buying my teeth, or whatever you class that as building my book here in Edinburgh. My father was also dabbling with the idea of moving into property management and lettings in Aberdeen. And we came together one year and said, listen, how about we set up a separate business, a letting agency, between myself, you, and my older brother at the time. And within a year, we had just over 100 properties in this lettings business. That was a partnership between me, my brother, and my father. At the same time, I had these two different mortgage brokerages running, one in Edinburgh, one in Aberdeen. I always make the joke that it was becoming an HMRC's auditing dream. They had all these three different sort of areas all running up the east coast of Scotland. So we eventually dragged my dad at the time, kicking and screaming, into this amalgamation of all three businesses and put the family name above the door. And that's where Cox and Co was born. So 10 years ago was when Cox and Co itself was born. What primarily at the time was a master mortgage brokerage that was directly authorised, which meant we have access to every last bank, building society, and mortgage lender across the UK. And at the same time, we were offering a letting and property management proposition up the east coast of Scotland. Both ran really well together. It was really good fun to begin with. But I slowly but surely realised that a lot of clients knew us for one or t'other. They didn't know us for both. Um, and as the teams grew, I had a very, very strong team of mortgage brokers working for me, a very good team of letting agents in the house working for me. And I realized pretty quickly that actually I was spending a lot of my time not doing mortgages or lettings. I was actually building dreams. I was packaging up deals. I was selling my clients' properties for them. I was sourcing new letting opportunities for them. I was off working on the next commercial venture. I was basically doing everything else other than actually what our two main brand propositions were. And it was through working with business coaches at the time that opened my eyes to realize that, hold on, we've actually got a bit of a niche for ourselves. And when we delved into the detail of what Cox & Co was able to offer, this is where the real value add came from, Rupert. It very much was an idea that I've taken a number of years to master, but I've now coined property investment management. And this is what Cox & Co.'s brand proposition really is. It's a case of working with landlords, investors, locally, nationally, and globally, who are looking to invest in bricks and mortar across the central belt of Scotland. We would source the properties for them, arrange any required finance and insurances, package it all up, nice big bow at the end, and then when they complete, we would take on those properties and manage them for them, offering a true turnkey service for property investors. I suppose that's kind of where we are now. Cox & Co. Is exactly that. We are stockbrokers for bricks and mortar. But that being said, I should stress that we'll quite happily still look after that one-off first-time buyer that comes through the door, or take on that one-off landlord that's sick to death of the big agency along the road and they want to get a bit more of a bespoke service. And with that, again, the wee intricacies of a quick refinance of a buy-to-let property or a bit of landlord insurance, you name it, we'll happily do the single transaction work. But our main meat, shall we say, are long-term relationship clients are looking to invest their funds through Cox & Co.
Fantastic. So, I mean, that's a really, really interesting journey you've been on. You talked about building up the team around you.
Sure.
So what are the things that you look for in that team? You've got a pretty tight proposition for your clients. You're offering a end-to-end service, high-end service. So what do you need in the people you employ?
Sure. So I've always been a great believer. Again, for anybody else that's aware of my story or have heard me speaking at other events or any of my sort of online content, I run the company in a lot of ways like I used to run rugby teams. I class myself as a captain, not the coach, and you need people that fit different positions to make the whole thing work. And we've got a number of different animals here at Cox & Co. But the one thing we do have is a group of property professionals. We've 14 in the team now, but that varies from letting agents, mortgage advisors, estate agents, right down to people who've got a real penchant for just property investment that have joined me as well. I think the big one is everybody here are long-term property professionals. I've got no trainees, no part-time members of staff. Everyone is quite long in the tooth. We've all been in the game for a long time. At one point, I was the second youngest in the whole company, and it's not about age, of course. It comes down to experience. The idea for me was bringing in people that can not just excel in their chosen area or field, but they can collaborate really well with everyone else in house. So as the team leader, if you will, what I spend a lot of my time doing is running these collaboration meetings and training my letting agents in the arts of property investment, training my mortgage advisors in the arts of selling property, training my investment team on both sides so they understand how to build out return on investment spreadsheets correctly for landlords. The key is this. I don't want to give away too many of my secrets, Rupert, but letting agents, the standard traditional letting of property and property management is dying. It's dying a death. There's more and more regulation coming into the property market, and a lot of that's being drip fed into letting the property market from the financial markets. And I know myself, I'm very, very lucky that I have got to 20 years experience in both, and very few other people have that. I am that niche. God forbid if I go get hit by a bus tomorrow, because the key man cover insurance on that would cost a bloody fortune because I cover all area of the business. But I spend a lot of my time training and trying to inspire the rest of my team and get them understanding all areas. Yes, you come to work wearing your letting agent hat, but you've also got to wear your Cox & Co hat above that and being able to fact find correctly, meet with our clients and get a proper holistic understanding of their needs. So when I go back to what I said about property management is dying, property management needs to change to property investment management. Letting agents out there manage thousands and thousands of properties across the private rental sector in the country. And I would comfortably follow my own sword on this one, but I'm convinced that 99% of those letting agents haven't got a blooming clue about the value of those assets that they manage. They've got no understanding of the value of the client's wealth that's tied up within those properties. And Cox & Co, again, very arrogantly for a Monday afternoon, I think we are the only letting agent that knows the actual value of our whole portfolio. And not only that, I know the value of the client wealth that's under management. So we report to our clients on an annual basis based on their wealth that's tied up in the bricks and mortar that we manage, opposed to, hey, your pool card's broken in your bathroom at 17 quid plus VAT at the end of a month. I think the other way to explain it without going into too much of a rant is the game needs to change from being reactive to proactive. Being an owner of a letting agency, I fell foul of this a decade ago. When the phone would ring, everyone would hide under their desks because no one wanted to work for that 10% management fee. If the phone rang, it meant you had to go work for your management fee. And I was adamant to change that in the marketplace and say, listen, when the phone rings, let's jump because that's going to help that asset grow. Let's get ahead of the game. Let's go out there and when we're inspecting our properties and meeting our tenants, let's see where the value add is for our landlord investors to help those properties hit their capital appreciation goals that we'd set for them. Yeah. So, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm going off on one, but it's because I'm extremely passionate about trying to implement some change in the private rental sector. I think it's desperately in need of it.
I'd agree with you. I mean, earlier this week I was seeing in the news up in Perth, one of the big letting agents is in serious trouble for not having looked after the assets of their clients.
Sure, yeah.
And yeah, no industry needs people like that in them.
It gives us all a bad name. Yeah, I talk about Google reviews a lot, and I openly ask people to go and read Cox & Co.'s Google reviews. We've got almost 100 Google reviews now, of which I think 90 odd of them are all satisfied clients. And the only bad reviews we have are from disgruntled tenants or from prospective tenants that never got the property in the first place. And it's because letting agents, we're normally the ones getting arrow shot at us. It's it's never the service that gets the bad review. It's just the name in general, being a letting agent. And I'm desperate to get that to change. We should be held in as much high regard as that person is going to sell your house. And unfortunately, still in 2023, we're still dealing with bad press and this whole slumdog landlords and agents just steal money and blah blah. It's a nonsense. If people, I wish people would realize there's a lot of really good letting agents out there that are working blooming hard to make change, and I really want to try and promote ourselves as being one of the leaders of that.
Yeah. So you've built a pretty awesome setup over the last 10 years since you branded as Cox & Co. So what do the next 5 years hold?
World domination, Rupert. World domination. To strip it all down, and for me to keep talking like it's some sort of William Wallace Braveheart speech here, to get to the formalities, the business end of it. The company is built upon 4 pillars. We have our lettings, our sales, our mortgages, and our investment side. So there's the 4 pillars of the business. And really, now that we've kind of built these 4 pillars out, the key now is it's all about growth in each of those areas. So where do I want to be over the next 5 years? I want to double my lettings portfolio. I want to build my sales proposition to become national, not just across the Central Belt, but I'm looking to grow the sales proposition out as quickly and aggressively as I possibly can. From a mortgage perspective, our brokering side has also been running the longest. I feel that area of the market, financial markets, mortgages, has been really difficult in the last 12 to 18 months. We're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel. And I suppose for me at the moment, it's more short-term goals for the mortgage brokering side. I want us to be hitting the same volume that we were hitting pre-COVID. That is the aim. So I've got a wonderful close-knit team of mortgage gurus here in the office. I'm desperate to get them back up to the same level of targets they had 2018, 2019. And from the investment side, the final sort of the 4 pillars there is just to get consumer confidence back. So I believe we were doing very, very well pre-COVID, during COVID, and in the last 12 months, it's died a death because interest rates were too high. Additional dwelling supplement jumping up last year to 6%. Obviously, it really affected the investment market here in Scotland. And I think consumer confidence has been the issue. And I think we're finally starting to see that grow. So into next year, my hope is to roll out our investment piece to a number of our competitors and offer it an almost a white labeling type service to assist them with their own growth at the same time. So 4 different areas of growth for the next 5 years. And it's hard to kind of keep on top of them all. But I've got a wonderful team here. It's going to keep me in line at the same time, hopefully.
Fantastic. So just as we close, if you think back over the last 16, 17 years, and you had the opportunity to give your 18-year-old self some advice when you were just setting out, what would it be?
My goodness. Don't give second and third chances. Um, be more ruthless. I am too nice a guy, Rupert, in business, and I have been in the past. Not to say that I'm not a nice guy anymore, um, but I think when it comes down to staffing and when it comes down to contractors that work, Cox and Co. Sorry, to a bit of an elongated answer. I hope you don't mind, Rupert. But the Co in Cox and Co is not Cox and Company. Cox and Co. The Co from a branding element was all about everyone else around the Cox family, and the contractors, our clients, our staff, everybody else was the Co that made the cog turn, if you will. And I feel that from far too young an age, I let too many people be part of that co. So we had contractors, but too many, and some were pretty poor initially. I had a lot of bad clients, bad landlords that I probably allowed them to get away with far too much. But a lot of tire kicker clients on the investment side who would talk a great game but never end up actually investing. So from a viability standpoint, a lot of man hours was wasted, and so on and so on. And then from a staffing perspective, allowing people to join the team in the hope that they would get better, and then wasting a lot of time realizing that they wouldn't. Hence why I'm quite stringent now with the team that I take on. They've got to bring the right level of experience from day one. So the first bit of advice we is you don't need to give second or third chances in business. Get people on board. You sign a contract between yourselves, and if it doesn't work, then you move on swiftly on to the next one. And I will go to my grave on that one. I think it's very, very important to make sure that you've got the right people around you at all times. And as soon as somebody starts to slip, then let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome advice. It's the old thing of it's not selfish to be selfish.
Yeah, yeah. I'm too nice, Rupert. Believe me, I'm too nice. I've been too nice to too many people over the years, and I feel we could have kicked on and probably been double the size by now if I'd realised that 5, 6 years ago. But I was too much enjoying that first peak in a business growth. You're making a bit of cash, you buy that nice house. My first child's born, everything's going great. You get the nice car, everything's going smooth. So you don't worry about those few wee issues that's going on in the background because you're living on that period whereby everything's, that business euphoria, that first peak of business euphoria, as people talk about. And if I had got my feet back on the ground early enough, I probably would have kicked on even faster. So that's one bit of advice I'd always go back to is keep your feet on the ground and like I said, one chance and then move on.
Fantastic, brilliant, John. Look, thank you so much for that. It's been really really useful.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Goodness, it's flown in, absolutely flown in. I really appreciate the opportunity for a chat. I really hope it's some good content for your viewers. I hope I get a chance to speak to you all again soon.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rupert. Okay, take care.